The machloket that we spoke about yesterday, we said that if a person is going to have leftover of chametz, so here that we have an eruv, it's much easier because you could just basically come and get rid of it in a public disposable, meaning like if you're going to throw it in a public garbage. However, though in other places it becomes very, very difficult, and that's when they have to either flush it down the toilet or they put Clorox on it in order for it to become not edible. Or Maran brings down nishar chametz achar shachlo, if you're going to have leftover chametz, mevatzlo vekofe alav keli. You're going to come, you're going to do the bitul chametz. Remember that right after eating, right, you don't do the kal chamira on Friday morning when you're burning the chametz, you're doing the kal chamira on Shabbat morning. So therefore, when you finish, you're going to be mevatzlo vekofe alav keli, you're going to put a kli on it until Mosae Yom Tov, and then you would destroy it on Mosae Yom Tov when you're allowed to burn it, or you're allowed to get rid of it on Mosae Yom Tov. Now, to do with the halacha of Seudot Shlishit, Maran does bring down in Siman Taf Mem Daled that the way to do Seudot Shlishit, Zmana is Zachar Mincha, and then you're not going to do it not with matzah or not with a chametz. You should use matzah shira. Now, one of the problems for us of using matzah shira is how do you use matzah shira? Why? Right? Let's forget about minhagim. Some people have the minhag of not even having matzah shira, right, before Pessah as well. But let's even forget about that mitzad minhag. Matzah shira is mizonot matzah. For us, in order to make a motzi on mezonot matzah, you would have to have the concept, there's a machloket, whether it's going to be 3 kabetzim or 4 kabetzim. Let's say minimum is 3 kabetzim, is going to be 160 grams of matzah. If every single matzah is be'erich 30 grams, so just imagine how many matzot you have to have, full matzot of the square matzah, the egg matzah. You would probably have to have around 8 or 9 egg matzahs, right, in order to get to the 3 kabetzim, in order to make a motzi. So obviously it's very difficult to make a motzi on the egg matzah. Now again, you could still make mezonot, that's true, you could make mezonot, and then again you have the lechatechila that you shouldn't have until you should have the meal until 4:33. Now the Maran does bring down also that you could be mekayem et zeh with perot. What does it mean perot? You could also do it with fruits. What does that mean? Even though Maran says lechatechila in ilchot Seudot Shlishit, you always have to have bread, right? And this is also brought down whether it's going to be in all the poskim afterwards, whether it's, we're talking about from the Shulchan Aruch Harav going down all the way to the Mishnah Brura, right? The Kaf HaChaim, that a person always has to have bread for Seudot Shlishit. B'shat dachak, that a person cannot, so then he could be mekayem even with other things as well. Here, if he's going to have fruits or even meat or fish or other things, then he could do it even after the Shah Sidit. Why? The entire concept of eating before the Shah Sidit was you didn't want to become full. If anyway you're having a small amount in order to be your Seudot Shlishit, that there's no problem whatsoever. The Mishnah Brura though wants to bring, right, another way of doing it, splitting the meal. So let's just try to understand what does this mean. In the morning, you come, right, and you do shachrit. After shachrit, let's say you're going to have a meal. Immediately you're going to come and you're going to do your meal, and you do a motzi, you could do birkat hamazon. And you make a pasek, you make a hafsek. What do? You either go out, or for example, if you came to the nets, you could do the first one right here, right? Which means that you would do the first meal here, right? We don't eat in the Bet HaKnesset, obviously, but outside outside we'll eat, right? Whether it's going to be pita, whatever it is, you have your meal, you make a motzi, you make birkat hamazon, then you go home, right? When you go home, right, you come, everyone wakes up, and then you're going to have your meal. Remember that you have until 10:50. There, you already made a second meal. Or the other way is, we finish here, let's say at 10 o'clock, right, on the morning of Shabbat morning. You go home, you immediately start your meal, you do birkat hamazon, you take a stroll for 10 minutes, you come back. Obviously, you have to be careful with the time, because it's not good to start splitting it up if you're going to get into a chashash, right, of being with the problem of chametz. But especially if you do the nets, for sure you're able to do it on Shabbat morning. And then what you do is you're splitting up the meal. Now, says the Mishnah Brura, right, that by doing that, you're going to be Yitzhak Chovah, some of the opinions that you did Seudot Shlishit, and then you did it even with bread. Now again, any way where you go, you don't have the lechatechila. Because lechatechila, it should be with bread. Lechatechila, it should be after at least the zman of mincha. According to the Kabbalah, it should be after mincha as well. That's why we do early mincha on that Shabbat. We do a mincha gedolah at 2 o'clock p.m. on that Shabbat, because according to the Arizal HaKadosh, you have to have Seudot Shlishit after mincha. But after the mincha, then again you can't do a motzi. So anyway where you go, you're always going to have some sort of a problem that it's not the most lechatechila, but that's the situation that you have. A person could do like the Mishnah Brura, and he says it's also the Shgal Mevina splitting up the meal in the morning. He's going to be Tzei Chovah according to some shitot. he could pray Mincha Gedolah, and then afterwards he could still come and he would be able to pray, to eat fruits or other things, or meat and fish or whatever later on, and he's going to be Yitzhak Chovah, at least the best of what he would be able to fulfill.